Imagine a world where the greatest crucible of human knowledge was not extinguished. A world where conquest did not sweep away centuries of mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. In this alternate timeline, a world of speculation, not history, we ask, what if the House of Wisdom had survived the Mongol onslaught? Image_shorts_1. A lone figure seen from behind, silhouetted against the grand arched entrance of an ornate ancient library, holding a scroll, warm golden light spilling from inside, vertical cinematic composition, no readable text. Image_shorts_2. Two robed scholars seen from behind, walking toward a towering shelf filled with countless bound books and scrolls in a warmly lit chamber, vertical cinematic composition, no readable text. Image_shorts_3, an extreme close-up of an ancient brass astrolabe, intricately carved, gleaming under focused candlelight, dark scholarly background, vertical composition, no readable text. The year is 1258. Baghdad, jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate, stands on the edge of destruction. Its libraries, academies, and intellectual heart, the legendary Beit al-Hikma, face an unimaginable threat. Image_shorts_1. A Mongol rider seen from behind, galloping across a desolate plain, spear held high, dust rising behind him, historically grounded 13th century Mongol armor, no fantasy armor, vertical cinematic composition. Image_shorts_2. Two cloaked figures standing on a city wall, backs to the viewer, looking out at an approaching dust cloud on the horizon, tense atmosphere, vertical cinematic frame, no readable text. Image_shorts_3. An extreme close-up of aged parchment, frayed edges, covered in abstract Arabic-like calligraphy, ink strokes visible but no readable text, warm candlelight, vertical composition. What if one decision spared the most important library of the medieval world? What if algebra reached Europe 2 centuries earlier? What if medical knowledge from Baghdad helped change the fate of the Black Death, prepared to journey into a future that never was? Here on Historix Vault. Image_shorts_1, a scholar seen from behind, intently studying a large open manuscript on a wooden stand, warm candlelight, shelves of scrolls in the background, vertical cinematic composition, no readable text. Image_shorts_2, two hands carefully measuring a brass scientific instrument with a delicate caliper, manuscript pages and astrolabe fragments nearby, vertical close-up, no readable text. Image_shorts_3, an extreme close-up of polished brass gears and intricate mechanical components, part of a complex medieval scientific device, warm golden light, no readable text. Before the storm, Baghdad thrived. It was the heart of the Islamic Golden Age, a metropolis of immense wealth, culture, and intellectual vigor. From the early 9th century, the Beit al-Hikma, or House of Wisdom, had become one of the great engines of learning in the medieval world. Here, scholars from across the known world converged: Muslims, Christians, Jews, Persians, Indians, and others. They translated Greek, Roman, Persian, and Indian texts into Arabic, then built upon them with discoveries in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. The House of Wisdom was not simply a library. It was a machine for turning civilizations into knowledge. By 1258, however, the Abbasid golden glow was fading. The Caliph's advisors were divided, the treasury weakened by factional struggle, and the once mighty Abbasid military had been reduced to forces of questionable loyalty. Inside Baghdad's walls, many still believed the city could not fall. Outside, the Mongol war machine was already approaching. The siege of Baghdad was swift and brutal. Catapults hurled stones and flaming projectiles against the walls, while smoke rose from the outer districts. The city's inhabitants, caught unprepared, watched the Mongol war machine tear through their defenses. In our timeline, the House of Wisdom and countless libraries were destroyed, their priceless contents thrown into the Tigris until the river was said to run black with ink. But in this alternate reality, as Hulagu Khan surveyed the burning city, a desperate plea reached him. Ibn al-Hikma, the chief librarian of the House of Wisdom, threw himself before Hulagu's horse and begged not for his own life, but for the survival of knowledge itself. Perhaps Hulagu saw military value in maps, engineering, medicine, and statecraft. Perhaps one advisor recognized that a library could be more useful than a treasure chest. So an unprecedented order was given. The city would fall, but the Beit al-Hikma and its contents were to be preserved. Inside the House of Wisdom, terrified scholars expected death. Instead, they found themselves sealed behind Mongol guards. Outside, Baghdad burned. Inside, the silent halls of knowledge remained untouched. The city lay in ruins, the Caliph was dead, and Baghdad's glory had been shattered. Yet, its intellectual heart still beat faintly beneath the shadow of the Mongol banner. But this was only the beginning. In the aftermath, Baghdad became a landscape of desolation. But the House of Wisdom stood as a defiant monument to the power of ideas. Its preservation was not an act of mercy, it was Mongol pragmatism. At first, the scholars feared their new overlords would only strip the library for military secrets. Mongol scribes and administrators were assigned to the house, not to destroy but to assess. They searched for texts on geography, engineering, medicine, siegecraft, taxation, and statecraft. The surviving scholars, stripped of their patrons and fearing for their lives, began to cooperate. They translated Mongol decrees, provided geographical intelligence, and adapted engineering knowledge to imperial needs. It was an uncomfortable symbiosis. But it kept them alive. Hulagu Khan had already shown interest in astronomy through his patronage of the Maragay Observatory. Now, the survival of Baghdad's scholars gave him something even more powerful. He commissioned accurate maps, improved instruments, and practical knowledge for ruling an empire too vast to control by force alone. A subtle shift began. The Mongols were still conquerors, but they started to see that knowledge could conquer more quietly than armies. They were not only taking land, they were absorbing civilizations. But the true test of this new alliance was coming, and it would arrive in the form of an impossible campaign. The first great test came during a difficult western campaign. The Ilkhanate faced rugged terrain, stretched supply lines, and fortified strongholds that could not be taken cheaply. Traditional siege tactics were costly, and brute force alone was no longer enough. This was where the House of Wisdom proved its value. Scholars presented hydraulic engineering plans for diverting water toward enemy positions. Others refined ballistic calculations for siege engines, capable of striking with terrifying precision. One astronomer improved astrolabes and star charts, making navigation across deserts more precise. Physicians refined medical procedures to reduce disease outbreaks in military camps. The result was immediate. The army became faster, healthier, and more accurate. The evidence was undeniable. Hulagu Khan, or his successor, fully embraced the integration of scholarship into military and administrative policy. Knowledge detachments would now accompany armies, governors, engineers, and trade missions. With the House of Wisdom's refined cartography, the Mongol Empire began mapping its territories with unprecedented precision. Topography, resources, roads, cities, and population centers were recorded. Maps became instruments of empire. Oz. This was the turning point. No longer just a conquered relic, the House of Wisdom became an active partner in the Mongol imperial project. Its scholars were no longer merely tolerated. They were protected, funded, and deployed. A new age of intellectual patronage under the Mongol banner had begun. Patronage brought resources. New wings were added to the House of Wisdom. Observatory domes, larger laboratories, expanded scriptoriums, and courtyards for debate transformed the old library into something greater. The house became a multicultural nexus. Mongol, Turkic, Arab, Persian, Chinese, Jewish, and Indian scholars worked under one roof. Text moved between languages. Ideas moved between worlds. The effects spread across the empire. Improved public health reduced outbreaks in major cities. Irrigation projects revived dry lands. Administrative systems became more precise, making Mongol rule more stable than conquest alone could ever achieve. The Pax Mongolica had already connected trade routes across Eurasia. Now it became a superhighway for scientific and technological diffusion. Knowledge was not merely surviving, it was spreading. In this alternate timeline, the Ilkhanate benefited immensely. It became not only a successor state of conquest, but a more enduring and administratively sophisticated empire. Science became a pillar of rule. The Mongol network became more than a trading system. It became a circulatory system for ideas. Indian mathematics, Persian astronomy, Chinese medicine, and Islamic engineering converged in Baghdad, were refined and then carried outward again. Europe would feel the impact generations earlier. Algebra, optics, medicine, and astronomy could have crossed westward faster and in greater volume. The Renaissance might not have waited for the same sparks. It might have ignited from Baghdad, An Eastern Renaissance would bloom not as a replacement for the Islamic Golden Age, but as its expansion. Across the Ilkhanate and Yuan worlds, scientific institutions became centers of independent research. The 14th and 15th centuries became an age of invention. From Baghdad's living house of wisdom, advanced clockwork mechanisms could emerge. Optical instruments might develop sooner. Early telescopes, microscopes, and mechanical automata could appear centuries ahead of schedule. Even the Black Death might have unfolded differently. With stronger medical traditions, hygiene practices, quarantine procedures, and public health systems, the pandemic's spread could have been slowed, not erased, but contained more effectively. The geopolitical map would change. Stable, technologically advanced Mongol successor states would exert deeper influence. Some European colonial paths might never form the same way. The balance of power could shift eastward. The House of Wisdom's legacy would not be limited to Baghdad. Its motto would spread across Asia. Academies, observatories, hospitals, and translation centers would become tools of empire and prestige. A new global civilization might emerge from this fusion. The pragmatism of the steppe, the philosophical depth of Islam, Persian administration, Chinese engineering, and Indian mathematics could interact under one scientific umbrella. The result would be a civilization built not only on conquest, but on organized knowledge. How would Europe react to an East that was not only militarily formidable, but scientifically dominant? Would it encourage cooperation? Or spark an even fiercer scramble for knowledge, trade, and power? The survival of the House of Wisdom changes how we understand power. Preserving knowledge is not merely an academic pursuit. It is a strategic imperative, capable of redirecting civilizations and reshaping destinies. In our history, the loss of the House of Wisdom became a symbol of light extinguished. But in this alternate reality, its flame endured. And that flame did not illuminate one empire alone. It sparked a scientific revolution centuries before our own. Every empire has a story history forgot. This has been Historix Vault. More are coming. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.